Arkansas Republican Congressman Rick Crawford, the chair of the powerful House Select Committee on Intelligence, joins us. Congressman, great to have you back on the show. So you were in that briefing. Are you fully satisfied that this massive and very expensive arrest of the Venezuelan president is in the interest of the American people?
Yeah, 100% it's in the interest of the American people. It's in the interest of the Venezuelan people. And I think the question we should be asking is, are we comfortable with ceding that ground to the Chinese or the Russians or the Iranians? Because that's what's happened over the last 20 to 25 years. And so what we've seen now with President Trump's position here in the Western Hemisphere is a return to leadership in the hemisphere. And quite frankly, our allies, not only are they welcoming that, but they're acting on that. If you look at what's taken place in elections in places like Chile, Peru, Honduras, is an active rebuke of communism. They want to embrace capitalism and prosperity for their people and self-determination and all those things. And President Trump is saying, I'm happy to help. And another thing I'll make a point about, it's not good for the United States to be the best house in not a good neighborhood. So we're securing the neighborhood. President Trump should be commended for that.
So this is about American national security interests? Is it about keeping China and Russia out of the region? Is it about drugs? Is it about oil? Is it about all of the above?
Yes, all of the above. And what you have here in Venezuela is maybe one of the most mineral-rich countries on the planet. And it has been exploited for the gain of people like Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. And the Venezuelan people have suffered as a result of it. And so when you have a fugitive from justice, who Nicolas Maduro was, along with his wife, both under indictment, a grand jury indictment in Southern District of New York, this was appropriate action to take him into custody along with his wife. A lot of people didn't realize that his wife was also under sealed indictment from a grand jury in Southern District of New York. So we take those two individuals, those fugitives from justice. It was a masterful execution of a well-planned out strike involving DOJ, FBI, and Department of War.
What do you make of this statement that President Trump just posted on social media literally a few minutes ago, where he said that we're going to take oil out of Venezuela, take it to the U.S., sell it at market price, and that money will be controlled by me as President of the United States? That oil belongs to Venezuela, does it not?
Well, maybe not, because there were some sanctions involved there, and this may be some recompense for U.S. companies. I don't know all the details on that, but I will say this. If you compare what the United States does in a country like Venezuela versus what a country like China does, the United States will go in and make an investment. They will hire domestically. They'll invest in that company or that country, and it's helping that country to prosper, as well as for American businesses to be able to prosper. Well, look what China does. China goes into a country like Venezuela, exploits them. They don't make any domestic hires. They don't purchase anything domestically. It's a closed loop for the sole purpose of them extracting material mineral wealth out of these countries. We've seen it in South America. We've seen it in Central America. We've seen it in Sub-Saharan Africa. That's the playbook from China.
Okay.
President Trump is saying we're not going to do that on his watch, and I applaud it.
A new poll out today shows that 1/3 of Americans support this military action in Venezuela. A majority of both Democrats and Republicans worry that the U.S. will get too involved in Venezuela. Many fear our military will be sent back in. Would you support sending our military back in, more boots on the ground?
Well, let me say this about boots on the ground. If we were interested in regime change or large-scale operations militarily in countries like Venezuela, you would not have seen this surgical precision. What you have seen is an operational preparation of the environment that would have been involved tens of thousands of troops on the ground. That's not what took place here. That's not what President Trump is talking about. And quite frankly, I think we're discounting the response of the Venezuelan people. And if you look at South Florida and the response that the Venezuelan expats exhibited there and have done over the last several days,
right,
as well as there's a large diaspora in Argentina and other countries in the Western Hemisphere that are celebrating this action because they know they've been displaced and now there's hope for them.
The poll also shows that Americans were twice as likely to say that Trump should have gotten authorization from Congress before doing this raid. Trump did not get authorization. He didn't even tell those of you in the Gang of Eight. He said it was because it would have leaked Has the Gang of Eight ever leaked classified information like this before?
I can only tell you, speaking from my experience on the Gang of Eight, and I've only been on the Gang of Eight for a year, I've not seen the Gang of Eight leak anything. But that said, there was no requirement for prior notification here because this was a DOJ exercise. This was serving a warrant that was sworn out in the Southern District of New York against legitimate targets. It was accompanied by the military, obviously, but in this case, there was no advance notice requirement. And I also use the word advance. Even if this was a Department of War action, there's still 45 days during which that would a window of opportunity for the president to notify Congress. There's nothing in the Constitution or War Powers Act that prescribes advance notice of anything. So if I'm the individual responsible for planning and executing this mission, I want to keep that universe of individuals who know about it as small as humanly possible to maintain a high degree of OPSEC and really optimize the chances of a secure and safe, successful mission. That's
right,
what
but
was
the
done
Gang of
here.
Eight, the Gang of Eight is a very small, select group, including people like yourself, and has no history of leaking classified information. So the
Correct.
question remains about why, since the president is supposed to notify the Gang of Eight, at the very least, by law, before doing covert operations.
Well, not necessarily before. Now you're talking about the law doesn't necessarily prescribe that advance notice be given, but that if action is taken, military action is taken, that Congress be notified within 45 days. Congress has been notified, and there was no requirement because this was a DOJ action and not led by DOW.
All right, Congressman Rick Crawford, really appreciate you joining us tonight to get your take on everything. Thank you.